Good evening. My name is Julio Garcia Jr. and today we are doing Lab 5, making a patch cable and adapter cable for Chapter 5 Practice Labs Networking. So here we have our crimper, our punch down tool right here, and our wire stripper. Those are going to be the tools that we are going to be using. And of course, as you can see, our two cables that we're going to terminate on this side. I've already terminated on this side, so we can do this a little bit quicker. And the terminations that we're going to do is with an RJ45 for our patch cable and a Keystone Jack for the adapter cable, which we'll get to in a bit. So first of all, we go ahead and take our patch cable, whatever length necessary that we're going to need. Since this is kind of a practice patch cable, I went ahead and took about a foot. And first things first, we want to make sure that we include our boot, our little cover, and scoot that in there. So that way we don't forget to put it on later. And here we want to more or less measure the distance of the jack of the RJ45 to see how far it's going to go. That's about more or less where we're going to peel. We'll probably peel just a little bit more to have some play with it. And we clip on the wire stripper. We give it a couple of twirls, and just like that, the cover comes right off. At this point, we start separating our wires, just like that. And this little plastic thingy, that little plastic that holds, we just come back with our crimpers and we cut it off, just like that. Any kind of cutters work, but that's what I have in hand right now. And we begin to untwist our wires here. Alright, so at this point, after we do some untwisting, we want to do some flattening. Now the termination that we're going to do here is the T568B, where all of the wires are connected in a specific order, starting off with the orange pairing and ending with the brown pairing. So we have the orange wires here. We're going to go with the striped orange and then the regular orange. And then we have the green, all right? The striped green goes right after that. Now, notice the pattern that we're going to be doing is striped, solid, striped. So instead of the green, we're going to go ahead and put the blue, and then the striped blue, and then back to the green, and then striped brown, regular brown. And at this point, we kind of want to flatten these guys a little more to make sure that they're nice and straightened out. The little plastic in the middle, that gets in the way, you can push it down or you can cut it to give yourself some more space to play around with these. So it's a little hard to tell, but that more or less is our wire configuration. Here you can see the striped orange, the striped green, the blue, the striped blue, the green, the striped brown, and the brown. So next you take your RJ45 connector, and you more or less want to measure the distance between the back end of the connector to the front end of the connector, and that's how much about how much wiring you want to have available. So you take everything, make sure everything is pinched up nice and close together, kind of like that. And then we take our connector, we measure it about right there, give yourself some distance, and then we take our cutter part of the printer and we cut in and we just cut. And there's just something always satisfying about that cut. So now that we have all our parts shortened up and cleaned out, we take our RJ45 connector. We make sure that it is in the correct orientation If we look at it like this, number 1 is going to be on this side and number 8 is on this side. So we want to make sure that our number 1 goes into the orange striped orange wire. That's this side. A little hard to tell, but right, kind of like that. We just want to make sure that everything is centered on the inside. Nothing is moving around too much, and this process is a little more difficult than one might expect. Make sure that nothing gets crisscrossed in there, and we just kind of give it a push. Now we want to make sure that we give it a close inspection. With light is very helpful to make sure that none of our connections got crossed. We can see the orange is fine, orange, white, the orange striped, orange, green striped, blue, blue striped, green, brown striped, and brown. It all seems to be in order. Next, we take our crimper and make sure that this is the direction. You see the 3 holes. That's the direction that we want to insert our Keystone Jack. We make sure that everything is solidly pushed in there. We make sure that we don't go past this back part here, right? It sits, and then we just go ahead and crimp. You're going to hear a small pop. That's the front part getting tightened up. And if it's successful, your Keystone Jack should be set. Sorry, not your Keystone, your RJ45 should be nice and taut and set. And you bring up your cover and complete. There is your patch cable. Well, now I'm going to go ahead and prepare for the next portion, which is the adapter. We'll be right back. So here we are. We are prepared to work with our Keystone Jack right here. This process is fairly similar to the patch cable, except however, instead of using the crimping tool, we will now be using the punch down tool. We take the end of the cable, kind of round it out. We take our wire cutter, and we're going to leave a little bit of excess because this guy is going to be cut in a manner that allows the punch tool to work. So about right there. It doesn't need to be too much, not too little. Right there, give that guy a couple spins. Right, and then we once again start pulling everything apart. Give yourself that working room. Now, here before we continue, you might want to spread some of these wires just to make sure that you're giving yourself some space. And it looks like we're good. That's really all the space you need. Let's go ahead and take this plastic off to double check and ensure that everything is correct. Get that right in there. Now, here on the Keystone Jack, we have A and B. As you can see, it's a little harder to tell. You can kind of see it, A and B. A and B. And the color coordination, of course, on this side we're going to have the greens and the oranges, and on this side we're going to have the blues and the browns. The A is the top, the B is the bottom. We are terminating 258B. So we want to put all our wires on the B portion. If we look here, solid orange, then striped orange, solid green, striped green. Right there. So we're going to take our punch tool and we're going to go down the line one wire at a time, kind of just like that, and then you just push down, and that should set the wire into its location. Alrighty then. Now we're going to take a quick pause real quick, and then we'll continue on with the next side. Continuing on the next side, as you can see, part B, we're going to start with striped blue, regular blue, striped brown, and regular brown. I like to start from the furthest wire. That makes sure it allows it to give some breathing room, of course. It's always best to have your wires up like that because this part of the punching tool cuts. So it as you're punching down, it'll cut that end of the wire, that extra wire, and we won't have to worry about that later. So there's one, there is two, right? And there is three, and finally number 4 coming right up. There we go. On a closer inspection, you can see how the wires go one way to the right or to the left. If you can kind of see a little closer, I know there's not enough light, but you can see the colors: orange, striped orange, green, striped green, kind of like on the patterns on this side, and then brown, striped brown, blue, striped blue, as well as like on that side. And so the final thing before we finish this up, we just take our covers and snap those guys right on, just like that. And this one does not have any place to attach a zip tie or anything, because these tend to be more for wall applications, so they won't be moving around too often. So that is the complete termination of this adapter cable. Next, we're going to go ahead and prepare to test the cables to ensure that they are good to go. For this next part of the video project, you will need a cable tester right here. This one has a 9-volt battery, just so you can see. And this is very, very simple. All you do, you can just turn the switch on, lets you know that it's on. And then once it's on, you take your patch cable, plug one end to the RJ45 port, and plug the other end into the RJ45 port on the remote. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is the 8 wires that we connected. This tells us that the wires have been connected and are establishing a connection correctly. Switching from on to S, it just slows down the blinking. You can see it's faster there, and it's kind of a little slower. So our patch cable works great. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to run it on again. We unplug the patch cable, and this time we're going to go ahead and use the adapter cable, right? The adapter cable, and we're going to connect the adapter cable, the new Keystone, with the RJ45, and make the connection here. And as you can see, with everything connected, we are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lights. That means that our adapter has been successfully connected and terminated, and everything is working to the fullest. And as soon as I unplug this, we can see the connection has stopped. Plug that back in, and there you have it. Connection cables are working, and that'll be it for this project. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, have a good night.